sun, dreams unfold. Whistles the wind, stories untold. From Massachusetts, land of old, to Ohio's heart, where tales are bold. Family hugs, packed and gone, chasing horizons, chasing dawn. Winding roads we journey on, new beginnings, new songs spawn. From Mass to Ohio, hearts of fear break, breaking chains, our path is clear. From Mass to Oleon, dreams take flight into the darkness, embrace the night. Peaceful scenes, sunsets glowed, birds chirp aloud, rivers flowed. Fields of wildflowers, destiny showed, but shadows loom as chaos grows. Steel and fire, tombs turn dark, mighty sounds ignite the spark. Brutal riffs like wolfpack bark, Ohio calls, leave your mark. From Mass to Ohio, hearts of fear break, breaking chains, our path is clear. From Mass to Oleon, dreams take flight into the darkness, embrace the night. From Mass to Ohio, hearts in fear break, breaking chains, our path is clear. From Mass to Oleon, dreams take flight into the darkness, embrace the night.
Oh man, how's it going, Alex?
What's up, bruv? How we doing?
Doing well. I realized that I was able to share the timer with you just now because we share our screens to get this done. Look, it only took us 13 weeks for me to realize that since we use iTunes and a timer on iTunes, the length of a song, that I can share it with you and you can see the little ticker on your screen. And that would have been really useful about 13 weeks ago.
Sounds about right.
Hey, better late than never or something.
Whatever the saying goes.
Exactly. I'm not one of those people. So, I guess we first of all, let's address the elephant in the room. It's Tuesday night and we're going live. We normally go live Wednesday night. That's due to a work event for me because, again, working in professional sports, sometimes your schedule gets changed. So you make changes on the fly, and we didn't want to not get content out this week, especially with the Monday Night Football having just been here in the great city of Cincinnati this past week.
That was actually a better game than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, I agree. We both were white. Spoiler alert: we both picked the Washington Commanders purely because our mutual friend is employed by them, and that's as far as we'll take it with that one. And that's why I picked the Commanders. Weeks 2 and 3, and kind of shocked that they've been so good. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie at all. But we'll see what their test is like in Arizona this week. And then the other kind of game that I'm looking forward to is, does Taysom Hill play? That's going to be the biggest determining factor for the Saints, if you ask me. And I know that seems like a very wild take. But who didn't play this week for the Saints?
Your king, Taysom Hill.
The greatest football player of all time, Taysom Hill. At least versatility-wise, in the modern era. The most versatile modern player, in my opinion.
Look, we had an essay piece come out about that a few weeks ago. If you find it, go watch it. Worth a watch.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think Taysom Hill is an incredible athlete. To be a quarterback and convert to tight end, yeah, sure, plenty of guys have done that. But to be that guy, to be pretty active in your offense. I'm not saying big yard guy. I'm not saying huge play guy, but he gets quite a few snaps. He's actually pretty consistently on the field. And the fact that wasn't in the preseason, he was like, yeah, I might play defense. Like, I don't know. Like, dude, that's like some Pop Warner stuff, and I love it. I love everything about it. That's just I want to play this game. I'm in love with this game, and that's the sort of personality I'm behind. Dude could literally be dog water at the sport, but if you have that personality, I'll be all behind you. I'm all in on Taysom Hill as a result. Also, it's kind of hilarious that the 1 week he doesn't play, the Saints did lose.
And you can go on and on about that, but I think while we're on the subject of guys that can try to do both sides of the ball, you know who Travis Hunter is, my guy?
I've heard the name. I know he plays in the college football.
Yeah, so he's at Colorado, and he plays both sides of the ball every game that he's been there. I think going back to Jackson State too, but
that's
I was Colorado stats up here.
Like I said, that's lit, as the kids say.
But now, I'm going to bring this up as we'll pivot to another two-way player in a minute here. But do you think a two-way player has a place in the NFL, and two-way in the way of playing both majority offense and majority defense in the way that Travis Hunter is doing?
No, I'll say it. I think the NFL has evolved to a point, and you have such a big roster now. You don't. I mean, again, we both come from arena football. That's where I met you. Seeing a two-way guy in arena it was super cool. It was super entertaining, but I don't think you really see that outside of like arena ball, maybe spring league. I think the sport's gotten too specialized, and you just kind of specialize or die.
Yeah, I agree.
I would love to be proven wrong, for the record. I would absolutely love to be proven wrong, for the record.
I kind of sit on the fence here, where it's like I want to see the experiment play out, but I kind of look at it with a few different schools of thought, where you have teams that'll be open to it, teams that won't be, and then teams that are kind of straddling the line, kind of where I stand, where you kind of have to let it happen in a longer trial period than just a preseason. Because he's going to be going up against every team's number one or number two on either side of the ball. But to see that in the preseason, you're not going to get an accurate tale of how that's going to play out.
No, I agree with you 100%, and I also think this will transition back to Taysom Hill. Like, I can bring us back to Taysom Hill. Think about the fact that everyone's like, well, he's not good at tight end because he still kind of plays running back and still kind of plays quarterback. He fills three roles on the offense a little bit. And so since he's not so specialized, he's just like, at all of them, honestly. I think he's an underrated player because he can fill all those holes. He's quite literally a flex player. And I think having a flex player in your lineup is incredibly useful, a guy that knows your offense so well or defense so well that you can be like, all right, go play this X position for a couple downs. Great. I know the playbook. I know this. I can slot right in. I think that utility is awesome, but you're never going to be as good as a guy that's like purely a tight end, purely a quarterback, purely a running back, purely a wideout. Like, I think football has specialized so heavily as a sport that's why you won't see those guys necessarily be incredibly successful. They may be great. They may be great football players. I mean, dude, if you make it to Division I college or the NFL, you're a great football player, and I'm not going to take that away from you because, first of all, you're better than I ever was at the sport. Second of all, you're doing a pretty damn good job if you're starting or you're playing every week, right? If you're dressing, you're playing, you're pretty damn good at the sport. And it's like if you're coaching at that level, you're a pretty damn good coach. If you got to that level, especially in the modern era. Like, and that's my 2 cents on the sport, but I think that kind of the two-way player model won't catch on, mostly because I don't think it can catch on. I think you have.
And I mean, I think that, again, it's all about if there's going to be a team that's willing to try it for a prolonged period and kind of accepting that he's probably going to want to commit to it full time. And I think a team's telling him that we're probably going to have you pick one side of the ball. We'll leave that choice up to you, but we're not affording your health and your longevity in this league by trying to play 115, 120 snaps a game.
No, I
think that's where those teams are coming down to that point of whether we're going to let it ride, have him play on both, we're going to have him pick one, or we'll kind of see how it goes, and then we'll make him pick one. So it's kind of one of those three schools of thought.
So I think it'll also come down to, is he going to be your number one in any position? Because, like, for the sake of argument, if he's your number 2 or 3 at, like, if he's like your number 4 or 5 at corner, right? That'd be your second string, your 4 or 5, I guess 3, 4, 5. Kind of
like a slot corner.
Yeah, kind of. If he's going to be like a 3, 4, 5 type corner, and the same receiver, so he's not in every play. He is still getting those solid breaks or the ability to have those solid breaks. Maybe it works out.
Okay, so I'm actually first mock draft I pulled up has him going number 2 to Denver. And I think they're only saying that because Sean Payton will probably do what he did with Taysom Hill with Travis Hunter should he go there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is what I was getting at a minute ago is if he goes to a coach like Sean Payton that knows how to kind of make a guy that jackknife of a player, you can't go to a better spot than wherever Sean Payton's at. So I think if he goes to Denver, then you see that play out.
Mm-hmm.
But if he goes literally anywhere else, I think he's literally going to be, you one or the other.
I think. So again, I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I watch football. I don't watch it that closely. So like depth charting is not my strong suit. But most teams run about 5 wide receivers, right?
Yeah, so it could be 4 in a tight end. It could be 4 in a running back, but usually it's 4 or 5 receiver.
So, like, your 5th receiver is usually a substitute receiver.
It's like your return guy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, the point I'm trying to make here is if he's, let's say they say, dude, you're gonna primary as a corner, right? Like, you have good hands, you have good speed, but we're gonna primary you as a corner because we really need you more on the defensive side of the football than the offensive side. Realistically, if he is that good as a receiver, does your team now have 6, 7 receivers potentially, right? He can slot in to the offensive side of the ball a little bit, get a few snaps here and there, nothing egregious, and still be super effective as a result.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of going to be your best bet at seeing kind of an Iron Man athlete. And it would be probably a primarily defensive player. Excuse me, that slots in offensively, and that's my assumption. I could be completely wrong, and you could be like, nah, man, like that's not how this works. But that'd be my assumption, where they would slot him in.
Yeah, so I think it just kind of with any player that comes out of college, whether they're the first pick or the last, depends on how the team's going to use you. So the team could have a plan in mind already, regardless of what's going to happen. I think, as I said, if he goes to Denver, I think you could see it. Because that Sean Payton made Taysom Hill the jackknife that he is.
That is true. And he made Taysom Hill my favorite NFL player currently.
I think if you have a coach that's willing to do that, like Taysom Hill didn't start doing that overnight. You know what I mean? Like, you have a guy that can come in doing that overnight.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's the willingness. I think you have to have the willingness and the attitude to be willing to do that, because you automatically are going to be stepping out of the potential spotlight, right? Like, realistically, as a result of doing this, you're going to be out of the spotlight. You're not going to, you're not going to be, quote unquote, the guy for any given position, because your goal is to be the guy that they want on the field, not necessarily the guy that is the number one receiver, the guy that's your number one corner. And I think that's kind of where Taysom's transitioned to a little bit. Like, I actively look to see him on the field, because since he has played a little bit of every, at least position that plays the football on the offensive side, that's got to be a nightmare for a defense, right?
At least in the game plan side, you have to at least know that they can sprinkle that in.
That's my point on a game planning side, because if he lines up in the backfield, well, you could run some weird trick plays with him, because you know what he came into this league as? A friggin' quarterback. When he lines up a tight end, well, you know he can catch a pass. You know he can break a good run. Didn't he have like a 40-yard run last year? Or something stupid?
Yeah, he definitely did.
I'm pretty sure I beat you in fantasy that week, literally off of that run.
It was last year, yeah.
It was, last year. No, I lost to you this year, because the team has not performed this year. We also need Taysom on the field to win, and
also, I meant to text it in that league group chat that if the dude I was playing pulled off the comeback, that I was accept the trade. But that text never went through until I said it, until after I accepted the trade, and I said, "He's all yours."
Do you like that I voted against literally every trade in the league?
That's just your style, bro.
Including the trade someone sent me that had Patrick Mahomes and someone else. I didn't even look at it. I just declined it immediately. It was Patrick Mahomes and some random wide receiver or running back for Marvin Harrison Jr. And I was like, no, thank you.
I'll pass, sir.
I'll pass respectfully. I like Marvin Harrison Sr. I'm gonna be all in on the Marvin Harrison Jr. train. And he was my third round pick. If you draft a guy in the first 3 rounds, I'm never trading those. My first 3 picks, I'm never trading. And this year they were Tyreek Hill.
My phone's ringing. Hold on.
Tyreek Hill. I don't remember who I took in the second round. It's probably a running back. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know who it was in the second round. Third was Marvin Harrison Jr. So, I'm not trading those guys. Who did I take second? Let's ask. I'm going to set my lineup while I have it managed. I really don't remember who.
I thought that's when you took Marvin.
No, Marvin's third round.
Did you take Mike Evans in the second round?
Honestly, I probably did.
Yeah, no, that sounds right.
And, you know what? That still fulfills my prophecy that I would not trade my first 3 people. And Mike Evans hasn't had an expressly amazing year. We're getting audio from something, and I don't know what it is.
I'm posting this on the pod store so you can check it out when you have a second.
Okay, cool.
It's nostalgic. I'll say that. We've already talked about
it's backyard baseball.
They posted it. They just posted a snippet of the music. And I think they're bringing back the original music.
Good. I got crushed. I lost by 20 points this week. This was probably my worst week, but that's okay. I'm not upset about it.
I need Christian McCaffrey to figure out what's up with his knee.
So one of my favorite things is this is the last week where Nick Chubb is on the IR. So my team's about to get really good at football. Assuming Taysom Hill plays. Baker also didn't have a great week. I'm not going to lie. Yes, backyard baseball's music was playing in the background because he was looking at something. So, Zach Ertz was a terrible pickup, by the way.
I mean, you just could have traded me George Kittle, knowing I was going to trade Brock Bowers away.
Yeah, but I could have just dropped him instead, and I think it was funnier. It was worth it.
Yeah, and I think I lost. So I'm on the high end of the waiver priority, so it works out.
I don't care. I'm not going to use Kittle. I have Zach Ertz. I think he's a good tight end. He just hasn't gotten the touches that he needs.
No, the Commanders' offense is going to be.
The Commanders' offense is going to be a wagon. And I think that's going to be how. You know what? Let's finish our two-way player conversation, though.
Yeah.
Shohei, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases this year. That's goddamn
accurate. If we're gonna talk about Shohei, let's get where he's at.
I'm sorry.
Actually looking it up.
Sorry,
right now.
I'm 3 days behind. He's probably at like some stupid amount now.
Is it 53, 55 for the record?
Okay. I'm sorry. We undervalued Shohei by talking about him hitting the achievement of 50-50.
No, but I think he's so good for baseball.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No, I think he is, and I'm not going to lie to you. If he did gamble, I think because he's so good for baseball, that's why they haven't done anything about it. Unfortunately.
But having baseball and two-way players make way more sense than any other sport.
Oh, I agree. 110%.
Because I think just the way that, since being a starting pitcher specifically, allows him to rest properly compared to if he was playing center field every day.
No, I agree with you 100%. But I'm just impressed by his 50-50 season. I think anyone that's not impressed by it doesn't understand how wild of an achievement that is for baseball.
And this is him doing it with half of his full ability.
Yeah, no, he's out here playing Road to the Show on freaking Rookie.
He's completing side quests while he's still trying to recover from elbow surgery.
No, exactly. It's wild.
He's casually. He's just you know what, let me just hit 50 homers real quick, just because I can and I want to, and then I'll do whatever pitching equivalent next year. So it's fine.
It's totally fine. Everything's fine. That all's well that ends well, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I guess we roll on here, Alex.
All right.
Let's look to the future, and let's start with the near future. NFL Week 4.
Carrie, get the spreadsheet
I
to the masses.
Yeah. So, first game on the slate is some Thursday night football that I'm definitely not going to be okay with. Actually, I'm totally okay with missing the game because I have to work as well. Dallas at Giants. What are your thoughts besides Snooze Fest?
I'll probably be watching that game because I need stuff to do. I think the Cowboys turn it around. The Giants have been outplaying opponents, but I don't think they'll outplay Dallas, to be totally honest.
All right. Well, I'm going to, you know what? The Giants surprised me this week. They beat Cleveland. Now I know Cleveland didn't have a great week. They haven't had a great start to the season, but I'm gonna say I think the Giants got this. Game 2 on the slate. In our order, it's not necessarily the second game starting. The Bengals go down to the Panthers. I think we are in mutual agreement on this one. If the Bengals defense plays like they did last night, and the Andy Dalton revenge tour continues the way that it did last week, this past weekend, I think the Panthers win this game. And it's not because the Bengals are bad. I think they have a very good offense. I just think their defense is not there. And again, it's hard to say the Bengals going 0-4 though. It's really hard. I think they're too good to be an 0-4 team. But I'm sticking with my guns on Carolina here.
Yeah, so I think if the defense steps up even just a little bit, I think that it'll be enough to slow down the Panthers. But I think it just goes back to the Bengals offense more so than anything the Panthers are going to do.
Well, so the counterpoint's going to be how fast did the Bengals score at the beginning of that game last night? It was
You think with the first couple drives that the Bengals were going to be up 21-10 instead of being down 21-10. You know what I mean?
exactly. The Bengals started super hot. And I think their offense is that type of team that it can be hot, it can get hot, it can stay hot. But I think if Carolina's not so much Carolina's defense, but if their offense beats down the Bengals defense a little bit, kind of like the Commanders did, and yes, I'm saying they beat down the defense because they got the defense tired. It looked like they weren't necessarily breaking for a lot of huge plays, but they got the defense tired. I think if the Panthers can replicate that. Because, again, one extra day of rest is one extra day of rest, too. So it's not a complete short week, but it's still a little bit of a short week. That's my logic for the Panthers, but it's super awkward thinking the Bengals might be 0-4.
I mean, I think Andy Dalton, you ride a hot hand. You know, Andy Dalton basically turned around the team in one game.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how young the Bengals are, or how young the Panthers are. I don't know how I can't tell how sustainable it's going to be. So I think Burrow will figure it out this week.
No, you're fine. I mean, that happens, right? Like, it's hard to predict.
Even though Andy Dalton is the best active ginger quarterback, so it's fine.
I think the Andy Dalton revenge tour continues because didn't he win the first revenge game? Because he was a Raider?
I think so.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was a Raider. I didn't imagine that, or Madden didn't, in a franchise mode, randomly trade him to the Raiders. New Orleans at Atlanta. I think you know what my answer is going to be already.
Kirk Cousins.
100%. Assuming Taysom plays, the Saints will win.
I think the Saints are going to win regardless.
I think if Taysom plays, they definitely win. If Taysom doesn't play, they don't win.
No, I think Kamara they'll figure it out. Atlanta's been playing they'll stay in it, but I think they'll end up doing something that lets the Saints kind of slip away.
The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. I almost said the Houston Rockets because I was looking at a basketball score real quick. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's not right.
What? The fact that the Rockets don't play football?
This is a matchup of two teams that got outplayed last week. One very much more so than the other.
Jacksonville got absolutely punished.
Yeah, give me Houston.
I'm also going to take Houston. And again, I think I'm going to use a little bit of my short week logic, too. I think getting punished and then having that slightly shorter week, neither of those are a good combo.
All right.
The Denver Broncos at the Jets. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm riding with the Jets, man. Their offense is slowly starting to come to fruition. Slowly but surely, they're starting to figure it out on offense, and the defense will just kind of follow suit with that.
And to quote your favorite backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? He's still the backup, right?
He's still injured, so technically.
Sorry, still the backup. Broncos country, let's ride. Also, I think it'd be hilarious if they just decide to go on a tear because everyone thought they were going to be terrible.
Imagine Zach Wilson gets in and he actually goes off.
Yeah. The Vikings at the Giants. What is your?
I'm gonna let you reread that because that's not the matchup.
The Vikings at the Packers.
Ooh.
Sorry, I was literally reading last week. I saw the NYG next to Green Bay, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the Giants, duh."
I think Minnesota's going to keep going.
Give me the Packers. Packers at Lambeau. That's such a tough place to play. Such a tough place to play. Your somehow undefeated Steelers at the Colts. Give me the Colts. I'm sorry. Nope. Pittsburgh, no chance they can stay undefeated through 4 weeks. To be fair, I'm 100% banking on the fact that the Bengals are going to be unwon through 4 weeks. But give me the Colts.
Sidebar here. Hold on, let me pull up the schedule so I can tell you when they're going to lose. Honestly, I think they lose against the Cowboys.
The Cowboys have been surprisingly good this year. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but I think the fact that weirder things have happened too. So it's like I'm not opposed, but I think realistic. Like I try to be as realistic with the Steelers as I can.
No, I think that's why I can respect you.
I try to be realistic with them when I can be, because I think Dallas will be the first
real challenge.
Yeah. And then,
well, I'm a little shocked Denver didn't beat them. I'm not going to lie. I kind of thought.
No, but they played the division 5 game. They played 5 of their division games in a 6-week period.
That's tough. That is tough.
That's going from after Washington on to Christmas when they play the Chiefs.
That's tough. That's wicked tough.
The back end of the Steelers' schedule is going to be a rough time, but I think they'll be all right if they can front load now.
That's fair. That's completely fair and reasonable.
But I do think the Steelers' defense is still what's going to keep them in a lot of the games they're going to play this year. So I'm going to ride with them as long as that defense stays where it needs to be.
Rams at Bears. I think this is a pretty easy one. I have no faith in the Chicago Bears. I'm taking the Rams.
I'll agree with you there, sir. Even though I will give them props in Indiana, they stayed in that game against the Colts, but they ran out of gas right at the last second.
Totally fair. Eagles and Bucks. I don't know. So Baker looked bad. The whole Buccaneers team looked bad last week. And like I picked them to lose and I still was like, "Oh, well they were bad." Like I'm shocked they were bad. But I I'm going to say Tampa Bay shakes off whatever shit they're in and they win. And Philly's not a bad team. I'm not saying Philly's a bad team by any means, any stretch of the imagination.
I think Philly could be without both of their top receivers if Smith doesn't clear the concussion protocol. So I don't know where he really stands on that, but I think if he doesn't, I mean, he'll probably be a Saturday call before anything, but I think I can't. I'll ride with the Eagles there. I think they could pull it out.
I will say
they got guys that can pull it out. So
I will say this far down the slate, I think this is the most different choices we've made the whole way through.
No, we've had. Hold on. We've had.
I'm pretty sure our consensus picks are 2, 3, 4.
We've had 13 games we've picked the same outcome.
Yeah, and only 5 of those 13 are the team lost. So a little under half.
Look, we're 2-0 when we picked the Commanders, so
that is true. We have actually both picked the Commanders every week. And we started doing this when the Commanders went on the winning streak, so.
All right, I think I'm just going to.
All right, New England and the 49ers. Ready?
I don't think we need to spend time on this one. I think we know who's going to win that one.
Yep, the Patriots.
Ooh, hot take, but agree to disagree.
So here's the thing. Ready? Here's my take on the Patriots. We're gonna go and deviate. I am not a Patriots fan by any means. I actually think the worst.
No one on this pod. Hold on. Sir, are you holding on to something? I have some breaking news.
I am actually holding on to the arm of my chair.
No one on this podcast is a Patriots fan.
No, I know that. But we both were born in New England. We were born during the greatest Patriots system that existed. And I want to see them go through a painful rebuild. I really do. Because I want the Patriots fans to understand what it's like to be a fan of an actual football team and not just this magical winning entity that is the New England Patriots. But God damn if it isn't the fact that the Patriots somehow managed to be in games, right? They lost in overtime to Seattle. They then just got waxed by the Jets. But they lost in overtime to Seattle, and I picked New England, but I didn't think they were going to win that game. And then they play the Jets on Thursday night, and they get waxed, whatever. Like, hopefully they shook off their shit. Oh, there's an objection. There's an objection to the, I assume it's to the no one on this podcast. I think he means of the presenters there, sir.
Of your projection.
But yes, I think the Patriots are gonna. I think they're gonna beat the 49ers, and if they win, great. If they lose, great. Washington at Arizona.
I don't need to explain my pick here.
Yes, I think the consensus pick for the podcast is the Washington Commanders. But yes, his objection was, in fact, that the presenters, being you and I, are not Patriots fans.
You gotta remind me to save that sound clip just for whatever fucking reason.
Which one?
The fact that we're both not Patriots fans despite being born before the greatest system ever.
Yep. And I really think it was the greatest Patriots system ever. All right, Kansas City and the Chargers. I think most experts, which I am not an expert, I will never claim to be an expert, would say Kansas City wins this game easily, right? They're the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the greatest football team ever, blah, 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 blah. Two reasons why I think Kansas City loses. One, I think in the last couple weeks they've shown a little bit of a crack in their play. They haven't dominated like I kind of expected them to. They beat the Bengals by 2 points, and the Bengals don't start seasons well. And I think if there was a week to lose, it would be the week you're undefeated, you're going to the Chargers. Their starter just got hurt. If there was such a thing as a trap game in the NFL, it would be this. And I think the Chargers win as a result.
Still think that the Chiefs got bailed out in Atlanta. And they'll probably get bailed out again. So
Exactly. They've shown cracks, and that's why I think the Chargers are going to win. I really think the Chargers win.
Do you see that pass interference that didn't get called?
Oh, yeah.
Atlanta?
Yep. My
Some
Cleveland
slight-
Browns versus Vegas. So I also like to be realistic, and it is a tough one for me because Deshaun Watson has been absolutely terrible. Again, significantly better football player than I ever will be, ever could dream of being. But he's been freaking terrible. If Cleveland gets smart and starts Jameis Winston, which they won't, but if they do and Stefanski starts Jameis Winston, Cleveland wins this game. Cleveland wins this game. The Raiders, come on, you just lost to the Panthers. Give me Jameis Winston. Let him start. Cleveland Browns win this game. We're all happy. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders are kind of falling apart already, man.
Oh, I agree, and there's got to be mental disdain for losing to the Panthers, who were just so bad through the first 2 weeks. They were just so bad through the first 2 weeks. Buffalo and Baltimore. This is the easiest pick on here for me. It's Buffalo. I don't really think Baltimore is. And I'll argue that I think the AFC North is usually the toughest division. I don't know about this year, man. I don't know if the AFC North is that division anymore.
I think the division is just kind of like scrambled and backwards this year, at least for right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Steelers being number 1, that doesn't make sense to me. The Bengals being number 4, that also doesn't make sense to me. I actually thought the Bengals were going to win the division in the preseason. I thought it was going to be Bengals, Browns, Ravens, Steelers. And
realistic. I think the Ravens will kind of find a way. I think.
And to be fair, I also thought Nick Chubb would be back by week 1. So.
This is. Hold on, let me look at the Bills so I can actually make an educated point here, or at least attempt to.
Sir, we're not educated here, or we don't pretend to be educated here.
Just give me a second.
The Bruins are currently up 3-1 over the Caps with 9 minutes left in the second period, in case you were wondering.
Oh, I did see that.
Because the Caps scored.
So, they should have... Okay, so they've... Aside from almost losing to the Cardinals, they've blown out the last 2 teams they played. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens typically don't get blown out, ever.
Yeah, but did you see what Buffalo just did to Jacksonville?
Yeah, well, Jacksonville sucks in primetime. I don't know why they keep getting primetime games.
Every team gets one.
I still think the Ravens can be the brick wall on the road.
I'm not going to lie. The only kind of short week team that I have faith in, being from that 4 on Monday night, it's Buffalo. They're the only team that I think can take that one less day of rest and actually do something with it.
Yeah, Jacksonville has back-to-back international games this year.
Oof. I hope they stay internationally because it's London and Germany, right?
Think so. It's against the Patriots, so.
Yeah, the London one's the Patriots.
Yeah, London.
And then Germany's the Panthers because everyone's been making the
Oh, they're playing the memes about that game.
about the last reparation from World War II meme.
Yeah,
that
that
I've seen going
exact
around.
game. Yeah. All right,
That's
so
the only
after
reason I
that,
know the Jacksonville Jaguars international game schedule.
I mean, Jacksonville only has one more primetime game after last night, so it's fine.
All right, Tennessee at Miami. I'm not gonna lie to you. Miami without Tua is kind of like a blind guy without his cane. Just helpless. So I'm gonna go with the Titans, and
I agree with that logic, dude. And then their
I hate to say it because
second string quarterback is out too.
I absolutely hate to say it. Oh, my mic froze. My camera froze. That's super duper awkward. Give me just a moment. Don't switch. Did my camera unfreeze?
I mean,
There we go. Sorry about that.
sorry.
That's the first time my camera's ever frozen. But that's fine. It is what it is. But yeah.
It is what it is.
The final game on the slate. Seattle versus the Detroit Lions.
Give me the Lions.
Detroit's been very good.
They're very good at things.
But who did they play last week? They played
the
Cardinals and won.
Yep.
And who did they play week 1? Because we don't have the week 1 or week 2 games.
Yeah, we have week 2. They played.
We only have the winners. We don't have the whole slate.
They played Tampa.
They played Tampa, and Tampa won.
Yep.
So they're 500 in the last 2 weeks.
But against
Is
Seattle.
Seattle better than Arizona?
Yeah.
They are. It's at Ford Field, though. I think I am still going to take the Seahawks. And it's very strange to say I'm going to take the Seahawks. But I think I have to take them to keep the splits to hope that I can make up some ground being 3 games back on you. And I think that's the logic here.
Yeah. And I think so go back to that with your 9-7 record last week. And
it was really Pittsburgh that got me.
6. You know what? I do like how even we are, though. We agree, but when we disagree, it's only on a couple games.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the NFL, though, right? Like,
yeah,
most games you can look at, and I think you're like, oh, there's a consensus winner here, right? Like, I hate to talk about gambling, but like, look at like the NFL's betting lines. They seem to follow the same suit, right? Like, and if there's a team that's like a underdog, Washington last night, for example, I think it was just one that like it's because the team's young, and that's the only reason.
Yeah, and I think as much as we just like to throw the picks out, I think like when it comes to like we do support our teams, but it's like
we also think about what we're gonna say.
I feel like we're both realistic enough with the expectations of our team where like we know they're not going undefeated. We know they're probably going to be a fringe playoff team if they even go there.
Oh yeah, I mean, being a Browns fan, we see the playoffs so infrequently. But right now, I'm just like, can they survive until Nick Chubb's back? Like, can they put themselves in a position where after 4 or 5 weeks when Chubb comes back, is he going to be healthy enough to go immediately? And at that point, are they going to be able to say that they're in the playoff hunt, right?
Yeah, and I think...
And right now, I'll be completely honest with you, it's a slim chance, and part of it's because the Pittsburgh Steelers are somehow still undefeated.
One could say that.
Because I predicted them to be a 6-win team.
And they're halfway there.
I know. Which, by the way, if they don't make the 6-win mark, it will actually be a very tough 6-win season. And
Look,
that take will
I'm not
be
even.
the best take I've ever had if that happens.
Look, I know they're probably going to start off the way. I knew they were going to start off the way they were.
I was going to say, I see Pittsburgh as the anti-Bengals, where they start off hot and then they fade. They fade hot and heavy through the middle
So I
of the
think,
season.
as I was saying, when they have that run at the division, when they play the division when they play their division schedule pretty much in a row, I think that that's kind of where their disadvantage will be.
No, I agree with you. I think that's tough. I think your division games are that much tougher too, right? Like the Patriots, for example. I know they play Buffalo 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season, or both times they play Buffalo.
Yeah,
That's so tough. For Buffalo, that's awesome because New England's either going to be a fringe playoff team, right, fighting for their playoff lives, or they're going to be so far out that it doesn't matter, and Buffalo could have a cakewalk. Those 2 games, getting down to the end of the season.
exactly. I think the division games, I argue, always carry that much more weight. Whether you're a team that's not in it or you're in it, it just depends on how you interpret that.
No, I agree with you 1,000,000%. I agree with you. But let's shift gears, as it were, and talk about my bread and butter in life, hockey. So the preseason started on Saturday. A few things have happened, a few games. Most notably, did you see the Utah Hockey Club's first franchise goal? Not actually, because own goals don't get counted in hockey.
I saw the clip, but I didn't watch it fully.
Oh, I haven't watched a hockey game yet. I'll watch my first game on Saturday when I go up to Columbus and watch this. I want to say it's the Sabres.
I probably will when
It is the Sabres on Saturday. But tonight, the Canucks play their first game tonight at 10. I'm super amped for that as a Canucks fan. I get to watch some hockey. I fixed the HVAC in my apartment today, so that's even better. I have air conditioning again. Yay. So I'll be able to be comfortable watching the Canucks play. Current scores as of 8:28 p.m. on Tuesday, the 24th of September, with 4:15. I'm gonna refresh. With 4:15 remaining in the second, the Canadiens are up 1-0 on the New Jersey Devils. With 5:44 remaining in the second, the Sabres lead the Penguins 3-2. With 7:58 remaining in the second, the Maple Leafs and Senators are tied at 1. With 4:07 remaining in the second, the Bruins lead the Washington Capitals 3-1. With 7:10 remaining in the second, the Hurricanes are tied with the Lightning. And with 6:44 remaining in, or 6:04 rather, I can't read, remaining in the second, the Islanders are up 2-0 on the Rangers. And the game's yet to start this evening. The Kraken at the Canucks at 10, and the Ducks at the Sharks also at 10. And I mean, it's the preseason, so you have a lot of AHL guys, a lot of guys that are probably fringe starters, or fringe to make the club, rather. So you'll have young guys playing, which is great because, as a Canucks fan, our team is all young guys. But I was talking to one of my coworkers. He's a big Bruins fan. I know, shock. Guy from Boston's a Bruins fan. And I asked him how tough it is to be a Bruins fan right now. And I don't think he understood what I was saying, but I don't trust people named DiPietro after Vic DiPietro ruined my first fantasy hockey team ever because he got hurt. And I didn't really understand fantasy hockey, so I took him way too early. So I don't super trust Michael DiPietro, former Canuck. And the Bruins' other goalie is it's Eunice, or is it Eunice Corposello is the other big club NHL starter. And I mean, Eunice is good. I like Eunice Corposello. Most notably played the 8-period game against Vasilevsky and the Lightning in the first game of the bubble back when the COVID bubble happened in that August of 2020. But, I mean, it's been 4 years since that, and I'm not I don't think Corposello is the guy anymore. And Michael DiPietro is a great goaltender. He's an absolutely great goaltender. But I'm not sure if that is the move to have those two guys. So that's my
Probably
opinion.
wait till the regular season kicks off, and then kind of work into my viewing rotation, so to
No,
speak.
that's fair. I'm such a big hockey guy, as you know, that like I'm actively looking at the preseason, and I'm gonna form a lot of opinions on every team based off their preseason performances. I'll say it. Obviously we didn't have the podcast yet last preseason, but I said the Canucks were going to be good, even though like all the pundits and everything said, nah, they're gonna be garbage. And I was right. They were good. They made the playoffs. That is what I would define as a good team. And I'll break it down here. You can draw a really crappy Photoshop picture if you want to make this a reel for my breaking down of teams. So I think there's obviously your cup champion. I dropped my headphone. Give me a second. So obviously you have your cup champion. They are the best team. Obviously they won the Stanley Cup. Then the team that finishes second, obviously straight up second best team in the league. They always will be the second best. I don't care if they are actually the second best or not. They finished second in the Stanley Cup Finals. They are the second best team. Then your great teams are the rest of the teams that make the playoffs, especially if they make it through one round of the playoffs. Those are your great teams right there. They made the playoffs. They won a round of the playoffs. That's great. Your good teams, your teams that just missed the playoffs and are a one and done in the playoffs. Those are your good teams. And then the rest of your guys, the rest of the teams are just, again, that next kind of crust down is going to be your kind of average teams, and then the bottom of the barrel is going to be whoever finishes last, and they literally are your tanks. And I think Columbus is going to wind up down there near the bottom this year. Again, I think they're just so young, and it's hard to build at the NHL level.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm a Bruins loyalist, but like you also know me as somebody that if there's a game on, I'll probably watch it 9 times out of 10. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I will also tell you that this said Bruins fan that I talk to at work all the time, I have told him probably every day for the last month and a half that it's going to be a tough day for him when the Bruins miss the playoffs this year, because I just think it'd be hilarious if they go from being just this kind of amazing team that's just fallen off the wagon, and now with Olmark gone, really falls off the wagon and misses the playoffs.
I think we'll talk about it before the season gets close, as the season gets closer, obviously. About that, I think that's one of the things I do want to look into a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But, my only thing for the Bruins right now is, they really do. If they were willing to part with Olmark like that quickly after their season ended, that shows me how much trust they're gonna have in Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah, and Swayman is in a weird place.
You know
So
what I
like,
mean? Like,
I always forget that he's on the team. I'm not gonna lie, even though he very clearly is the best player, their number one goalie. I think it's a tough position that they're in.
yeah, and the thing like with him like having because they really kind of started to run with him in the playoff run, not so
Yeah.
much like there might have been like the week or two of the season kind of leading into that, but it was really that like I think who did they play in the first round? Was it Toronto last year? Or was it
They played Toronto because they came back and 1-7.
that was their first round, right?
Yes.
So I think it was after game. I thought it was game 3 against Toronto.
They really
They just
turned
said,
it around.
right, whatever Olmark was in, but he got shelled. Whatever game Olmark got shelled in against Toronto was kind of like Montgomery's like, all right, Swayman's gonna be between the pipes until everything on him falls off. So, which I don't hate that. You can see that Toronto did that with their goaltender.
Yep.
Obviously, Florida did it with Bobrovsky. But now the Bruins they're looking like they're going to go back to like the predominant kind of goalie rotation they did when Tuukka Rask was still with the team, where he'd be getting maybe 65 of 82 starts, somewhere in that ratio. I don't know who this other guy is, to be totally honest with you. So
Which one?
I'm not trying to.
Eunice Corposello?
Whoever we got, because we traded goalies with Ottawa, did we not?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Eunice.
Was he their starter last year? Or?
No, he couldn't have been their starter. He could have been their starter. He was
Ottawa
on the Senators last year.
I think Ottawa comes to town on my birthday. So
he played 55 games, so I'm going to say he was probably their starter, yeah. But
I still think Swayman's the number one goalie, though. Like, even if you bring in another team starting goalie, like Swayman's got the chemistry factor.
So
on
I
his
will
side.
say, Corposello played the most games he's played in an NHL season last year. He had an .890 save percentage. That's awful. The previous season, he played 28 games for the Jackets, 1 game for the Cleveland Monsters, and 11 for the Kings. He was up over 91% saves. The previous season, he played 22 at an .877. The 2021 season, he had 33 games, .894. He's just... he's a great goaltender, but he's kind of shaky.
I think that's kind of why bringing him to the Bruins, where
to be fair,
he's not
Olmark also was kind of shaky prior to coming to.
He was, yeah.
He had played a little bit of a shaky stint prior to coming to be.
But he was shaky in the playoffs, and that's kind of what made it. It's kind of what got Swayman all that trust.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't trust him, but that doesn't mean jack diddly squat. Like, at the end of the day, I want to see what he can do, and I'll judge him by what he puts on the ice this year. And that's all I can say. I can't talk about who they'll be next year until I see what they are this year, right? At the end of the year, at the end of the day, that's the way it goes. So I think that's my 2 cents. Sorry, I'm looking at the Leafs roster right now to see if who their goaltenders are and what their prospects look like. Because I was just looking at Corpusalo's numbers, so I went down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry, but the last thing I want to talk about, Alex, this evening is the Chicago White Sox. And they're historically bad, as we know. Jay Kudo, one of my favorite Twitters that exists. In 2020, the White Sox won 36 games. That was like a 60-game season, right? The 2020 season, that was the 60-game season?
Yeah, COVID.
They won 36 games. In a 162-game season, this year, the Chicago White Sox won 36 games. And this is as of 4 hours ago, so I don't know if they played today or what it means, but the White Sox admin on Twitter has been hilarious, though.
I think that's the only positive they can really make out of it is that they can at least poke fun at it. Of like, you know what, we know we're bad, but we might as well have fun with it.
So
but they also kind of exemplify why I don't like tanking in professional sports. Like, I think the Panthers can kind of follow this caveat too, where like sports fans aren't like they're very observant. You know what I mean?
So like one of the funniest memes, they're the 22nd. So what was that? That was 2 days ago. Their comment. The meme with the drifting thing, the post of final score or literally anything else.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
It's like,
what else? They've put a couple other good. They have a couple other good ones.
The
like final can be found on the MLB app. That's a good one. The number of runs scored was not greater than the number of runs they scored.
Yeah, it's like, but going back to my point, I think sports fans are very observant. They're a very observant group of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd agree with that in general.
But I think when you have fans are very quick to call out tanking, and I think that's why like some of the leagues are trying to proactively combat it. But there's teams that just don't want to do it. So that's why, like, the White Sox are doing what they're doing. I guess you can say the Marlins are doing it too.
Yeah, no,
but it's like
not a fan of the tanking.
It's like if you want to bring more money to the game, you might as well try to spend as much as you can. But it's like when you're trying to recruit, again, it's just recruiting. It's like, every free agent looks at the league as a whole, and they kind of narrow that's why like every free agent, big name free agent, has like a list of 5, maybe 6 or 7 teams that they look at because they know they can cross off half the league just by how they proactively tank, or they don't show initiative to want to compete.
No, I agree. That makes perfect sense to me, and I think tanking is bad for the sport. I think it's bad for the viewership. I think it's just bad. I think it'd be one thing if you had a relegation system, right? If we didn't have affiliated minor leagues in the United States. So, like, I'm going to pick random teams here for the example. The White Sox will be my MLB example, of course, because they were just historically bad. But, like, Actually, we'll use White Sox affiliates. I don't know how the Charlotte Knights did this year, but I know they're the AAA affiliate of the White Sox. Let's say they were really good and they won their league. For all intents and purposes here. In an affiliated minor league world, that doesn't matter. The White Sox stay in the MLB and the Charlotte Knights stay in AAA. But in an unaffiliated, let's use a European soccer or football example here. Sorry, my eyes itch. The Charlotte Knights, if they were the best AAA team, or one of the top 4 AAA teams, maybe 2, 4, whatever. Pick your number. You're up and down. It has to match. That's all that matters. If they're one of those top clubs, great. They'd move up to MLB, and the White Sox would be one of the teams falling down to AAA. And I think that is the beauty of fully unaffiliated minor leagues, or sport, fully unaffiliated. Every club is independent. Now, me working in an affiliated minor league, I love affiliated minor leagues because you know what? Same example, right? The Charlotte Knights, very good. I don't actually know if they were this year, but we'll just say they were for the purposes of this conversation. I didn't really follow AAA baseball very much this year. The Chicago White Sox, very bad. But let's say the Knights have a pitcher. We're going to name him John Smith. Let's say John Smith is very good, but he's 19 years old. So the White Sox, trying to not ruin John Smith, left him in AAA this year. Also to not waste service time on such a historically bad team. But that's
Charlotte Knights. They were 68 and 79.
Regardless, they still were in fact better than the White Sox.
Actually, I think every team in AAA was better statistically.
Was there a team that won 36 or less games in AAA?
No.
What about
the lowest? No, the lowest win total was 67.
So you're telling me that AAA baseball is competitive?
Yeah, you want to guess who had the least in AAA?
The Worcester Red Sox.
No.
All right.
They were 10 games lower than Scranton.
The Worcester Red Sox were 10 lower than Scranton.
Yeah, and that was second place in the East.
All right, so actually Scranton was going to be my second guess, so thank you for immediately knocking it off. Was it the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs?
No. They had 68.
Okay. So it's not Charlotte. It's not Scranton. It's not Worcester. Was it Las Vegas?
Did you look at? No. Why don't I see Las Vegas on here?
Because that's the Eastern League, or the International League, or whatever the East Coast League is. Because remember, there's 2 leagues in AAA.
Hold on. Now I gotta look at the PCL. Hold on.
So I could be
even then, there was still 58.
So the team with the worst wins, was it in the Pacific League or the International League?
Pacific, but you should know the last in the International because it's a little local.
The Louisville Bats?
Yep.
Okay. That was the little local really gave it away.
Yeah, but Albuquerque had the least.
I was just going to guess that. I was going to say, but it's fine because Albuquerque was worse. The only reason why is because I think I meme on Albuquerque all the time. Like, they suck. And they may not suck at baseball. They're just not as good as the other teams. And that's, I think, kind of to go against your point, or for your point of tanking. If you're a top affiliated team, and I think this kind of goes back to kind of my point about Deshaun Watson at the beginning, I can armchair coach all I want and be like, Deshaun Watson sucks at football, right? I led the podcast tonight with basically the same statement. But at the end of the day, if you make it to that level, you're obviously one of the top 1% at your position or the sport as a whole. Easily one of the top 1% of your sport as a whole. And I can say from my armchair, weighing 262 pounds now, not having run since May. Oh, he sucks at football. Well, I'm sitting here drinking a beer, right? Everyone does it. But actively, he's one of the best football players in the world. I don't like Deshaun Watson. I think he's a terrible human. But I'm still going to give him the credit that he is one of the best football players in the world. I hate that he is.
I think it's
but
I just think that it's
So let me finish my point here. The other thing I think is we automatically compare guys to the rest of the league, just straight up automatically. So when I say Deshaun Watson sucks, obviously I'm not saying he sucks. I'm saying compared to the average NFL quarterback, I think he's not as good, based on what my eyes see only during games. And that is such a small window of what these dudes do. And this is to make a hockey point, and I've made this point a couple times, and I firmly believe it. If you take the top scoring guy in the NHL in any of the 70s or 80s, in my opinion, he's probably a middle roster guy in the ECHL now. Just because the game's gotten faster, the shots have gotten harder, and just everything has jumped up ridiculously due to technology more so than anything else. And so I think guys that were elite a long time ago would probably be middling to a minor leaguer in the modern version of the sport. And I think that's probably the hottest take I have, but I think you can look at any sport and, your camera just decided to go to Mexico. I think if you look at any sport, you can probably make that argument pretty easily. That I'm not saying the players aren't elite and legendary in their own rights. Don't get that twisted for what I'm trying to say. But I think you'll always eventually records are meant to be broken. All records are breakable, and I think that's kind of what sports do. They'll either change the rules so that the records can be broken, i.e. MLB going for the bigger bases to incentivize the steal again. Or you have
baseball though.
No, I agree. But you either have the rules of the game changing to make the records more breakable in some ways, or technology makes the records more breakable. Because let's be real. Justin Tucker has the NFL record for longest field goal, right?
Yeah.
It's like 68 yards or something stupid. Is it over 70?
If I tried to kick that, my leg would go flying off of my body. But I think it's like 67. Nah,
66
it's like 60
yards.
Yeah.
2021, 66 yards, Justin Tucker. Do you think a guy in 1984 was looking at a 66-yard field goal and saying, yeah, that's friggin' makeable? Like, no. So, actually, the longest field goal is in the NCAA. It actually is 69 yards, and it was in 76. But that's the thing. Look at the NFL records. 2000, the top 9 kicks, and this could be an old article. It's a Yahoo Sports article, so take it with a grain of salt. Justin Tucker in 21 at 66. Matt Prater in 13. Brett Maher, M-A-H-E-R, 63 yards in 19. Geno Graham, 63 yards in 18. David Akers, 63 yards in 2012. Sebastian Janikowski, 63 and 11. Jason Elm, 63 and 98. Damn. Tom Dempsey, 63 in 1970. But, like, outside of the 1970 and 1988, everyone's, like, for the most part, post-2010 with Matt Bryant in 2006 at 62. But I don't think you looked at a field goal as makeable from 60-plus yards for the most part. Outside of, like, an actual super elite kicker. But now you have, I think almost anyone can get to fourth down, be 60 yards out, and be like, depending on the day, my kicker could hit that. And that was quite literally record-breaking in the 70s. And that's a field goal. That's very different than like scoring goals, steals records, which Ricky Henderson's record I think is probably one of the most unbreakable records. If you want me to be completely honest, I think his stolen bases record is firmly unbreakable, and potential. The potential for it is amazing, and I'm loving about it. That's all I'm gonna say. I think the records are gonna be broken. I think we're gonna see what's his face, Gretzky. I feel stupid, but Gretzky's records are gonna be broken. His point records, his goal records, they're gonna be broken. And
It's going to be a matter of time. Yeah. I think it's like until you see like the rate, somebody that's gonna like consistently copy the rate of which a player like Gretzky was racking up points, goals, and what have you.
yeah, and I mean, think
That's
about ready? The podcast is gonna get a little delayed here for 1 minute. Assuming it wants to work. But so this clip that I have on my stream, is it gonna go? It might not go. Okay, it's broken. That's fine. That's broken. That's actually kind of funny that it's broken. But so Mike Legg scored the first Michigan goal, right? In 96. The Michigan eventually would win the Frozen Four in downtown Cincinnati at the Riverfront Coliseum, now Heritage Bank Center. That was where the Frozen Four was. Michigan would win it. But Mike Legg hit that goal in a playoff round, and that was kind of unheard of, unfathomable. And now you have guys that do it kind of on the regular. Like, it's a regular hockey play now. It's a skill. It's a huge skill, but it's a much more regular play. And I love the fact that it's a much more regular play now. Just as a result of the way the game wants to be. I love everything about that. And the skill of the game is improving and everything. And that's why I think it's going to be just... I think it's just going to be elite for the sports as technology keeps expanding and just going wild like that. I'm super amped to see where the sport goes as a result.
Yeah, I think with as every league embraces tech for the kind of the growth of not just the game but the brands of the leagues, you'll kind of see how the two will play kind of hand in hand. And I think as we progress in our careers, we'll kind of be more hands-on involved with that. And that's kind of what I'm more excited for.
Oh, me
as
too.
I look to find my next spot.
Oh, I agree, and I think being I mean, I'm close. I'm closer to 30 than 20 at this point, but I think being so young in the industry will get to be around long enough that I'll be able to tell my kids like, dude, I remember when again, I'm going to hockey. Uh, there are guys in the NHL now that were playing in the ECHL when I started. Teams fold too. I think that's another kind of cool thing about sports, and it's weird to be like, oh, folding's cool, but like my first job, my company that I worked for, my first job, Manchester Monarchs, they do not exist anymore. They're gone. Like, and unless you were around from 2001 to 2019, this is the only chance you had of knowing they existed. Realistically, they won the Calder Cup in the American Hockey League. Doesn't matter. They don't exist anymore. And like, as much as relocation and everything kind of sucks, and I hate to see cities lose teams, it is cool to see them building new identity and a new brand in those new cities, or reforge an old brand. Look at Springfield, what they've done with the Thunderbirds brand, the Falcons, and then and before them the Indians. They had a lot of reforging to do, if you ask me. And by the way, Springfield Falcons games, my freshman, sophomore year of college, their last 2 years of existence, really cheap, no attendance. Period. Stop. No attendance. It was awful. But no one was going to games. The team sucked, and no one wanted to be in the Mass Mutual Center. The Thunderbirds, wicked fun to go to those first 2 years of them. And then I've gone back since COVID ended. I've gone to a couple games. I'll go to a game when I'm home for Thanksgiving. I'll drive out to Springfield to go to a hockey game, and because I genuinely enjoy going to Thunderbirds games. So, like, I think that shows like how good they were as a brand, that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drive from my house almost in Boston 75-80 miles to get to Springfield just to go to a hockey game, because I like the Mass Mutual Center, I like the Thunderbirds brand, and I was at their first game ever, so maybe that's part of it. But that's just who I am, and I'm gonna own that. But that is something I want. So,
Yeah.
but I think that's the best part, right? Like, I'm gonna be able to go watch these games and be like, and maybe it's because I work in the ECHL, but I love going to hockey games. I love seeing what teams do, and I think working in sports, I guess this is actually going to be our wrap-up point. I watch sports differently now than I did before I worked in sports. And even other sports, like I go to a baseball game, I go to a football game, go to a basketball game. I'm watching it differently than I did before I started college. I'm watching it for, oh, they did this. How did they do this activation? Like, I'm watching everything. I'm not just watching the puck or the ball or the superstars.
I think it's kind of like we have that kind of lens and mindset now of like, when we go to games, we kind of look at what the behind the scene stuff is doing more so than, you know, going to see like Ellie De La Cruz take ground balls, or, you know, Joe Burrow warm up. You know,
and I think
you see it in that different lens where like we kind of embrace the fact that we've been down in the trenches like that, so we know what's going on.
I would say I'm not gonna lie to you. I look at it from the second I park. So like, I'll park in Columbus on Saturday for the Jackets game, and while I'm walking to the stadium, I'll look at all that stuff around that nationwide plaza there. I'll look at all that stuff, and I'll be like, oh, how are you doing this? What are they doing like outside in like the street? How's security flow? Like ticketing, all that stuff. Like, I can tell you, when I was even 16 years old and going to a Bruins game, I was like, all right, I'm going to hop the T. I'm going to get off at North Station, and I'll just get in line, go through fucking security, and see what happens, right? Like, that's how I went to sporting events before I kind of studied this and everything. I was just kind of go and just like accept it and just enjoy life. But now I go and I'm like, all right, same thing. I'll go to a Bruins game. All right, I'm parking at Alewife. I'm taking the red line to the green line. Same route, right, to go.
Yeah.
Get off at North Station. All right, how are the security lines outside? How are they directing traffic? What's the signage look like? Do they have stuff talking about bag policies? And do they have shit talking about the fact it's mobile ticketing? How clear are the signs? Can I see them from a long way away? What sort of metal detectors are they using? The sort of stuff that like I wouldn't have thought of at 16, 17, 18 years old. But now that I've been in the industry and I've studied it, I look at that stuff and I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking at that way more than sick. I'm going to the Bruins, right? Like I'm going to see the Bruins Canucks. Like I've seen them 100 times and I'm super amped to go see them every time. Don't get me wrong. I love going to hockey games. But I definitely look at it differently. Try to find where the broadcasters are, like watch what the staff's doing inside, like because I'm just like, what practices could I bring back to my job when I go to these things? At least a little bit. At least a little bit of me is doing that.
Yeah.
A little bit of me is still like, let's go on that hockey game. Like
you can't tell me like if you're a professional in the business and you go to, like a different event within the sport you work in, or even just another game in general, like you don't analyze what's going on. Like you don't get in your seat and sit back. You're kind of like leaning forward. Kind of like that meme of the guy playing video games when he locks in.
Oh, I am that guy that when I lock in.
You kind of like, yeah, exactly. So you kind of like lean in and you just kind of you kind of tap into what's going on around you versus just sitting in your seat waiting for the lineups to start.
Yeah, I mean, am I still watching warm-ups? I mean, even the way I watch warm-ups is different, right? Like, I'm not obviously I'm watching for my favorite players because I still have my favorite players, but I'm watching. All right, what do they do like activation-wise? How are they getting the guys on the ice? How are they doing this? How are they doing that? Like that stuff I'm actually looking at, and I think that I sound super nerdy for it, but I will say, at least for me, it's the honest to God truth. I look at that stuff. And it's wild to me because I didn't think I would ever become that guy, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that just being in it for so long.
Just long enough that we've been in it just long enough that we can't unsee it.
Yeah, and I think I'd rather...
How someone put it to me one time, and I was pleasantly surprised by that comment. I'm like, yeah, of course, I still have my nostalgia. I still watch the sport and everything. Like, as a fan, I still have my fandom. But I think sports really allow me, like, when I go to work tomorrow morning, I park in my parking lot for work. As soon as I step out of my car, I'm no longer a Vancouver Canucks fan. I'm a fan of my team and our affiliates. And that's and really I'm behind my product 110%. And that's how I look at it. I think that's a very common view amongst everyone in our industry. You can tell me I'm completely wrong, Alex, if you want, and I'll respect your wrong opinion.
No, I think it's all valid because I think, like on my side, like I have, I want to be the guy on the sidelines shooting everything, but for what I was doing for just for the replay stuff, I was already running around more than most people realized.
Mm-hmm.
And even just to have somebody, not to tell somebody like I'm the only one on the phone with these people. Like I'm the only one handling this because I felt like I was the most stressed out person. on those game days because I was on the phone most of those games, so I couldn't even catch what was going on to reference anything.
No, I get
I was just
that.
getting people yelling in my ears.
No, I get that.
But
That's how I feel. 110%. I think we look at it differently, but we still. It makes me enjoy it when I get to go to a game. I get to go to a game. I get to enjoy life, just a little bit. Like even on a night off, if I go to a game in our arena, I love it. I love hockey. I'll say that every day of the year. I love hockey. I love going to games with my girlfriend. It's some of the greatest joys I have in my life. But I will say it's hard to shift fully out of work mode when you go to your own team, especially in your own city. So that's why I got a partial plan with the Jackets so that we could go enjoy hockey games and I don't have to really.
you don't have to bring your working mindset
I don't have to
to
be. I don't
a
have to
product
be
that isn't yours.
exactly. I don't have to be on and obviously I'm going to worry about how I present myself and everything, but that's just because I do generally care about how I'm projecting into the world, and I hope that I project well and with respect in general. But that's just me.
That's what I try to do, but you gotta take it one step at a time.
I agree, and I think, Alex, that is a fantastic place for us to end it for the evening.
Yeah. As always, quick content schedule. We'll probably get this episode up tomorrow-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have a couple shorts from last week I'm working on, so I'll get those out first, and then I'll kind of flood the shorts when I get them done, get them made.
Yeah, of course.
Just because it's from a pod from 2 weeks ago now doesn't mean we'll still put it out. I think the more we have to use, I can just post whenever I want. So
yeah, and that's partly why I wanted to make sure. I wanted to get out there. I also wanted to say accept all cookies.
And I think for Thursday pods,
they're coming.
We'll confirm this on Twitter, obviously, but I think the 17th is the target day for that to be live.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So between now and then, we'll kind of figure out what we'll do, whether we just record some stuff offline and post it that way or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. Can I get... Remind me later. View your page. Where it... Boom. And, sorry. As you know, September is Childhood Cancer Month. Or Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I think I said it wrong. So I did partner with the Jimmy Fund, and Waba Plays, and his podcast 3 Dads and a Console, which they actually go on Wednesday nights. So I'm actually super happy that we'll be moving away from Wednesday nights, so I can listen to their stuff live too. So they joined the Jimmy Fund Quest to Defy Cancer, and we at the Boston Skyline Podcast jumped on to help out. So if you would like to donate, I will get those links in our description as well, because no one should be going through cancer treatment alone, and the Jimmy Fund loves to support people and help them out and make it a little easier, especially for children going through this treatment. So I'm hoping that we can get some money raised for a fantastic cause that's completely tax deductible. And I'm sorry I had to make that plug there real quick, Alex.
No, absolutely no reason to apologize for such a great thing.
I will make a command for it at some point, but that is the my page specifically for it. So I think on that note, I want you guys to have a fantastic evening. And for my content, I will be back Friday evening. NHL 25 drops on Friday, so I will be playing a lot of Hut, probably, to say the least. Have a fantastic night, and we will see you next Wednesday.